So originally my plan with the graveyard books was to individually list them. So I could write out in the description exactly what the flaws were for each particular book so you knew exactly what you were getting, which in theory is great. Considering the graveyard is going to be probably just as full as the regular orders, the graveyard being the side of my website where you can get a discount on signed books if they are damaged, some of them being sprayed edges that just didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted them to, and some being books that came to me damaged or misprinted from KDP. So specifically, I was individually listing the sprayed edge books at first. I think I'm gonna change that approach because it's gonna be impossible to keep up with, and just like there are better things I could be doing with my time than individually listing all of the books. So I'm trying to decide how I want to lump them together, if I want it to be like a mystery altogether, or if I just want to make a few separate listings, like book 1, because they're all the Marionettes books, in red, book 1 in lavender, book 1 in gold, book 1 in black, or whatever, and then there's several copies available within that and you just don't know which one you're going to get and exactly what you're going to look like. And I also have my little experimental copies now, which some of them have actually turned out real cute. I'm gonna keep some. This is my most recent one. So it's like a black and gold. The reason why it's a graveyard book, you can see there's like a little bit of bleeding on the first page. It's really just on that front page though. Also on the back page, and you can see it got a little bit ripped on the back as well. The experimental books have come about when I have a copy that already didn't turn out. For example, this used to just be gold, and the gold I have found is very finicky when you break it, no matter how long it's if it's like slightly too thick of a coat, it does not break properly, and then it starts to like flake off and it leaves gaps in the color. It just doesn't look consistent. I don't like it. I'm realizing this is kind of bent too from when it was shipped to me, so all in all, just like a damaged copy. So anyway, this was gold and it broke kind of just not ideal. Like, you could have gotten away with it, but I'm too much of a perfectionist to send that out to someone and feel good about it. So I kind of like sanded it down to get off all the excess paint, but left some behind. And then I took black paint and like hand painted over it a really thin coat, so it would have this kind of like effect with both of them. So that's kind of just been my like, it's almost kind of relaxing. I've been enjoying just like painting books and having fun with them because they were already damaged. I was already not going to include them in the Kickstarter, so it's like low risk. I'm not going to ruin the book. It's already not good enough to go to someone. So I've been doing different things and figuring out different things. I did the same thing last night. You can see him drying out there. It was another gold one, sanded it down and ended up painting some like red over it, so he's drying out there. I do have a couple of experimental copies that did not start out as damaged. I just like wanted to do them, and they look good enough that I could include them in a Kickstarter order if someone wanted them. So we'll see if anyone selects in the surveys that are going out tomorrow to get like multicolored copies. Like both of these I think turned out really well and they're not like damaged. This one is also black and gold, but it kind of like fades into it. The only thing is it did break a little bit strangely on the top. You can see the book was originally gold and then I did black over it. So the gold did kind of come through on the top, but I don't think it looks bad. And then the bottom is just gold. But yeah, this copy is perfect. It doesn't even like bleed on the first pages or anything. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone will want my little experimental copies. I actually kind of like it more than the regular colors. And then same with this one with the like red and gold fade. I think it looks like pretty much perfect. No bleeding on the pages either. So we'll see. The surveys that are going out to the people who participated in the Kickstarter, I didn't realize there was going to be such a delay. The Kickstarter takes 14 days after it ends to process the payments and to like actually pay you out, and so BackerKit recommends not sending the surveys until those 14 days have passed. So that should be tomorrow. So those surveys will go out tomorrow night into the 14th, and then I will kind of start to see what people's preferences are and go from there. I do have quite a bit of the little experimental copies that won't be going out to anyone, at least not as like a regular order. You can see them collecting over here. These are the same kind of fade. I don't know, I don't really love the, I don't quite love the way that those faded into each other. I also think the corners kind of stuck to each other a little bit when I was breaking them, so I don't know how well you can tell. They're just not quite perfect. This black and gold one also not quite perfect. I can't really remember why. I guess he does have a little splotch on the corner. I guess it did break a little bit more on the top. And this one I actually really love. It's like red and gold and kind of like fades in and out on the top and the bottom. But this was another one of the damaged copies.
I think it may have started out as red and I did the gold on top of it. So the paint was so thick that I don't know if you can tell, some of the little paint flecks kind of like got stuck between the pages when I repressed it. So they're just like a part of the book now. It kind of adds to the ambiance. It's kind of interesting, but I feel like not everybody would enjoy that. She's real pretty on the shelf though, isn't she? I did manage to get my kitchen counter back by very carefully Tetrising them all in here.
I still need to order way more copies than that, but I feel like that's a good start. So yeah, today's Tuesday. I am trying to wrap up an editing client this week. I am trying to wrap up my final copy edit of Ruthless Ends this week because it's going to my proofreader on Monday. And in my free time, I'm just kind of playing around with the books. A couple of the puzzles did chip out. If you're one of the winners of the giveaway, you might have them by now. I sent one to my friend Paige too, and she already got hers, so I think they should be arriving to people just about now. I should be getting my gigantic shipments of them any day now. Anyway, the reason why I was making this update is because I have started to list the things on the graveyard that is not visible on the site, and I originally started individually listing the books, and I think I'm going to tweak my approach because I already lumped together regular damaged copies without any sprayed edges, and I think I might do something similar with the sprayed ones as well. I just have to figure out exactly how I'm gonna do it. Here's what I'm deciding to do.
So I'm making one for each book. The variants are which colors, and in one listing it's a certain percent off. Like this one, for example, is going to be 25% off, so that'll include any of the sprayed edge books that have like really minor issues with them. I'll make a separate listing for book 1, book 2, book 3 for a different percent off if it's, you know, more severe damage. So I'll go through all of the graveyard books and separate them into different categories. Like this falls under a 25% off because it's just like a really minor little issue. Anything major will go into the other category. Does that make sense? So you still have a better idea of like just how damaged is this book, but I don't have to list each individual book. I think this will work. So I have tried painting red and black over a sanded down gold, but we haven't tried purple yet. So we're just gonna see how it turns out. Okay, we'll see how it looks when it dries. I think it's probably not gonna be able to show up on camera very well. I think it's gonna be pretty. Did I show you guys the disaster from the last shipment of books? Pretty much more than half of them should have damaged. This entire box full. Oh wow, hopefully you can see that. All of these in here, they were all unusable. They were so damaged. Luckily I reached out to KDP and they gave me a refund for all of them. So now I have like all of those to practice on or to just put the rest in the graveyard on my shop as like regular damaged copies. So I walked to a coffee shop this morning, got a coffee, and then I went to work on my roof earlier for a couple of hours and I knocked out my client work for the day. After like being in my head and staring at a computer for that long, I like start craving to do something more active. So that's when I come back and I start like working on the books and stuff, things that
forced me to move around. Now we're gonna switch gears again and try to copy edit some of Ruthless Ends. This is no longer the correct number of chapters because I've split things up differently as I've gone along and I've added some scenes, but we are now to chapter 38. Just down here, I think. So we are getting to the end. We're close. I look back and I laugh. I thought this book was gonna be short-ish, like 90K. This is gonna be the longest in the series. It's at 115K right now. Still haven't written the bonus material for the hardcover yet, but I think I might work on that after I finish this and after it's off to my proofreader. We can worry about bonus content later. I am excited though because I've gotten some more copies back of the character art that'll be in the hardcover, and it'll also be a piece of the swag for the Kickstarter orders. It's not done yet, but I have seen a more done version than the rough sketch that I saw before. I can't wait to share with you guys. I think it's gonna be really cool. Also on the list of tasks today is I want to start editing the podcast for Patreon. It's not even the cutoff point. People can still send in more questions, but I've been recording them as they come in. The podcast is 40 minutes long right now, unedited, which is long. Our podcast are usually like 20 minutes long. So if more questions come in, it might be even longer than that, but this month is going to be so freaking long. You guys really showed up and asked lots of good questions. It's gonna take me a while to edit, so I wanna do it in chunks instead of sitting here and doing it all at once. First things first though, we're gonna dive into a chapter of Ruthless Ends and get at least one of those done.